So I was out for a walk today, and I feel like the Lord wanted me to share my testimony about how I came to make him the Lord of my life. So I grew up in the Lutheran church, and I can't say that there hasn't been a time that I didn't love Jesus with everything that I am. I absolutely loved him. But I can say there was definitely a time I was walking with him. In fact, I don't even think I understood what it was to walk with him for a long time. It was probably about 9, almost 10 years ago now, when I had an encounter that changed everything. I was living with a man, and I wasn't married. I'd been divorced twice at this point, and I would go out drinking. I would do a lot of things that I'm not proud of. I'm really not proud of them. And my son, who was 14 at the time, told me that he didn't believe in God and that nothing I could say or do would change his mind. I was crushed. And it sounds silly, right? Because if you look at my life, like, there was no evidence of Jesus in my life. And so I was shocked. Like, I love God. Like, how does he not know that I love God, right? And so I asked this question as I'm walking away from my son, because I was so stunned that I couldn't even say anything in that moment. And I asked him, I asked God, how is it that my son doesn't know how much I love you? And he showed me every place in my life where I was not the example to my children, how I wasn't showing his love or him in any moment, situation, or circumstance. And I was just broken. That's the best way to put it. So on the floor of my bedroom, I sat there and I asked God, on my knees with my face buried in the carpet, asked God to make me the Christian he wanted me to be, and not that I thought I should be. And he said, if you will do everything I tell you to do, I will bring your children. And I said, yes, Lord, I will do what you tell me to do. And in that moment, everything changed. Everything in my life started to shift. Relationships, people, going to church. I started going back to church. I started reading my Bible every single day. And I wanted to know him. I wanted to know more about him. And so everything that he told me to do, I did. From sharing the gospel as a new believer to, I can't even tell you the things, like all the stuff that has shifted in my life. Like, the list is so long, we'd be here for like 10 years. Because I swear on the daily, sometimes things would change, and sometimes multiple times, things a day. It's hard to believe when you start pressing into God how many things are there that he didn't want them to be there. From unforgiveness to unworthiness to self-doubt, hate, and the list goes on and on and on and on, right? And we sit there and we think that we know God. And he's going, I came so that I could have a relationship with you, so that I could show you who I am and what I want to do for your life. And that requires us making him Lord, because until he's Lord, until we're ready to surrender everything out of our lives and let it go, he can't move for us. Because as long as we're holding on to it, as long as those are things that we want in our life, he can't move. And so in that moment, when I realized that there was a very real possibility that I would not see my children in heaven if I didn't start living my life for Christ, I surrendered it all. And that was the catalyst, but I wouldn't change it for anything. Even if my son had known Jesus, without that, I don't know. I don't know that I would have turned back, but I'm so glad that I did. And, at that time I was finding fulfillment in relationships, or trying to find fulfillment in relationships with men. And God took that. I've been single now for 5 years, and I am the most at peace and joyful that I've ever been in my life. And I everything's surrendered to him, including that. And I'm not going to go get into something that he hasn't ordained for my life, because I figured out that he only wants the best for me. And he always takes care of me. that I can be fulfilled and happy, and I can be joyful and free without having to turn to the things of this world anymore to make me that way. And my son, the one that spurred all of this to begin with, he, 9 months after I rededicated my life and started listening to everything God told me, he got born again and got saved. He acknowledged God. And then he got baptized, and now he's made him Lord of his life. This boy, he reads the covers off of his Bibles. He sits and debates scripture with his sister, and I can't even tell you how much joy that brings me. And to watch what God has done with his life, because I put it in his hands. I put my life and my kids' lives in his hands, and the things that he has done for them and for me is miraculous. Is absolutely miraculous. And I've seen miracle after miracle after miracle in my own life. And I'm so grateful for what God has done. And I understand more today than ever what it is to walk with him. And it's not just about going to church on Sunday. It's not about anything other than seeking him, seeking that relationship, giving your life over to him, letting him dictate what we should and shouldn't do, because in that place he will guide us with his wisdom, with his knowledge, with his understanding, and he will truly help us walk in a way, one, that doesn't leave us feeling broken and empty on the inside, and two, that is a light to this world that shines out to others and changes people and the ones around us just by being around it. And that's only possible with Jesus. Only possible in that relationship. The saviorship is great, but you know what? The relationship with him being my friend, walking with me, being the Lord of my life, it's something I wouldn't trade for the world. That place, that's the place of freedom. That's the place of resting in him, knowing that he's got the good and the bad, and he's got it all tied up in a nice little bow, and he's not going to let anything hurt me or harm me. And, you know, I'm not going to say that it's comfortable. I'm not going to say that it's always fun, because there's things when and sometimes there's heartbreak that goes along with it, because sometimes people and situations need to change, and that's okay, because what he replaces it with is going to be way better than anything that you left behind in the past. And so I want to encourage you today, if you haven't completely surrendered to Jesus and made him the Lord of your life, and you haven't sought that relationship with him, that you do it. And don't wait, don't delay. Let him start moving today. And I just thank you. I thank you for taking the time to listen to me, and I thank you for listening about Jesus, most of all, because he wants so much more for you. And I may have come a long way, but I'm not even close to the finish line, so I can't wait to see what the next few years hold. I just thank you, and have a blessed day.